Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're an interior designer, you know that having the right tools can make all the difference in how smoothly your projects run and how professional you come across to your clients. Today, I'm diving into a tool that one of my clients asked me to review, the DesignFiles app. This video is part of a series of videos reviewing interior design management apps. I've previously recorded one on Programmer, so you'll find it up here somewhere, and I'll leave a link in the description. So what exactly is the DesignFiles? In a nutshell, it's an all-in-one app designed specifically for interior designers, decorators and e-designers to help you manage every aspect of your projects, from planning and client collaboration to budgeting and visualization. In this video, I'm going to take you through a detailed review of the DesignFiles, highlighting its key features, what it does well, and where it could improve. Whether you're a seasoned designer looking for a more efficient workflow or just starting out and needing a reliable tool to keep everything organized, this review will help you decide if the DesignFiles is right fit for your business. Let's start by looking at what sets the DesignFiles apart from other design apps on the market and how it might be able to help you streamline your interior design projects. So first of all, you'll head over to designfiles.co and you'll see this window, and you can either book a demo or try it for free. You'll see you've got a free account forever, no credit card required, and you can cancel anytime. So you can also watch an introductory video, and you can see it's got a relatively high rating. So it aims to help you manage your interior design projects. So let's jump in and take a look. So when you first open it, I've already started, doing a couple of little things, but you'll be asked to brand your account. You'll be able to choose your primary H1 header. So you would choose something that suited your brand, and you can choose some primary brand colors. My secondary brand color is actually quite a light color. So when I actually changed it to light, these turned out very, very light, and I couldn't work out at first because it was so light. I couldn't work out how to update all of these settings, but I quickly realized this was the color. So as you can see, you can adjust the currencies, you can adjust the unit of measurements, and also the date format. If you are working in the US, it might be different from if you're working in, the UK or Australia. You can also select your time zone, and you can select the beginning of the week. So once you've done that, you can add your product clipper. So the idea of the product clipper is you add it to your Chrome browser, and when you go on to a site, you'll be able to clip a photo and put it directly into your products. Then you'll have a questionnaire. This is a client-facing document. You can actually write more than one questionnaire, and you can see here I have made one questionnaire which is called New Client Inquiry. You can obviously start writing a new questionnaire and add in any questions that you might feel necessary. So this is quite useful. Then you'll be able to set up your online payments. So you're able to do that by connecting a Stripe account. And in most countries that accept Stripe, this will make payment very, very easy. You can go through all of these settings. So one of the things that it does do, it syncs with QuickBooks and syncs with SideDoor. So if you are in the US or somewhere where it uses these apps, this could be quite useful for you. So SideDoor, if you don't know, is a procurement app, but I think it's only available in the US. So the other thing that you can do is set up your product settings. You can manage what the client sees. So you can turn this on and off, and you can adjust it when you are actually working on your project, which is also very good. If you're just putting together some ideas, you might want to hide the prices, for example, if you're just at that stage where you're just trying to get feedback from the client. Also set your taxes, your payment options, so how you want your clients to pay, and the services that you offer. So you can have, I've got one here that's for design services. So this is a timed service, and you can also add in a flat rate service. So let's say you've got a design consultation, and you can set whether that's taxable or not. So when you actually are invoicing, you can actually then charge that. The other thing that I also want to point out is that there is an ability to track your project time. We'll talk a little bit about the limitations of that in a little while. It is there. So while you're working on your projects, you can certainly do that. So let's head into the projects section, and you can see there's a sample project here. And I very briefly just set up this very, very simple project just using the inbuilt product library. Now you can see here, if you go into the product library, you'll see prices, you'll see images, you can search by vendor and you can search by price. And then you also have a link to your library, and it includes things that you might have saved. And we'll talk a little bit about how you go about doing that in a little while. Essentially, you can save images and then use it across many projects. So this could save you time. You can also look at it by vendor. Now, it's fairly limited, I think. If you go into somewhere like Crate and Barrel, for example, I'm sure these aren't all the products that Crate and Barrel have. I'm sure they've got thousands more. So really want to be using that web clipper to actually add these products, but it's good for some ideas. You're just going through here and looking for some basic ideas for a particular room. This could be quite helpful. After you've made this, you can see here you've got some very basic image editing software, so you can change the layer. So for example, I can put that behind. I want this to go, in theory, if I wanted to go back. It's not doing it though. Back? No, it's not doing it. So sometimes it's a little bit glitchy. I'm just going to reload this and see whether that helps. So let me just try that here. No, it still doesn't work. So yes, I found it's a tiny bit glitchy, but you do have tools like background remover. So let's say I pick this lamp and I want to remove the background. I can then just use the magic remover, and it does a pretty good job of removing the background. And I want to just save the image, and you can see here you can resize it and add it. Let's say I want to sit it on this table, so let's move it into an appropriate size. And so you can see it, it looks pretty good. You can actually do mood boards quickly using this clipper. You can save something as a template. You can add in some additional items if you want to go into my library here. You can see here you've got text, so you could okay, you update it here. So I might say this is the limit. You can then save this as a template. So let's say I just want every mood board that I create to have this here. I can actually save this as a template to use in other projects. So again, these are time-saving tools, and they can make it relatively quick and easy for you to use. The other thing that you can do with the projects is, so let's just go back to the app. Oh, let's go cancel. Let's just save it first. You can also submit this to clients, and you can see what people can see. So let's say you've got 5 design boards. You can either share all the designs here, or just 1 or 2 designs here, and you can add your message and submit it to your client for comment. And this kind of communication makes it quite easy. Also have a product list. So this has an amount of how much this room is costing for the moment. But if you preview it as a client, you can control what they see. Say we don't want them to see the prices. We can then, so we're going to hide the total price and hide the product prices. You can see that there's this eye here with a cross through it. So it means that the client will not see that. So if we go back to the projects, I just wanted to have a quick look at the sample project here. And one of the things that I did want to have a look at is this project. Now I brought in a plan, and my plan had a pocket door, and what you will find is these blocks are relatively limited. You don't have a whole ton of options. You might think 40 doors is a lot, but in interior design, it's not really. You can basically design anything. The windows are pretty basic, But something as common as a pocket door, it didn't really have an option. And the problem is I didn't want to have a door swing in my plan. But you can see it's quite a nice looking plan. And if you are doing quite simple designs where you're concentrating on one room and you're doing the floor plan, it can work extremely well. And you can see there are different views. Here we go. Here's a top-down view of the room, and then you can see a 3D perspective. And you can see the perspective, it's not particularly realistic in terms of its finishes. I mean, obviously the shadows are fairly basic. If you're used to looking at results from, let's say, V-Ray, the result of the rendering, it's a relatively basic render, but it does give a good impression of what this room would actually look at. So depending on your clients and what they're expecting and what they're paying for, this can be a very simple solution. You don't have to play a whole lot with lighting and so on. I believe the program will do that for you. In a normal renderer, you would have to actually add in lights and add in textures and so on. The program will do a relatively good job of doing that for you. So just remember here that to save all your files, I made the mistake actually with my first design. I actually did a floor plan, and I'm so used to things being automatically saved in other programs that I use. I hit save a few times, but then when I actually went out of it at the end, it didn't save the program and I lost it all. So that was a bit of a problem. But you can see there's, a certain amount of designs that you can do. You can use your imagination to create whatever you would like. If you look at the sample project, you can see that there's a questionnaire and you can ask the client to update the questionnaire. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is the products. As I mentioned before, in theory, you download a web clipper, which you can see here. And if you go on to a website, so I did this hand knotted rug from this site, and what you would do is, let me just add in another one. So let's say we've got this design. We want to save this, so we would add it to the design files, and you'll see there's a drawer that pops out here, and we need to pick the image. So we'll just go here and wait for it to upload. Save this either in your library as well as the specific project, and you can just adjust the description and add in any prices or whatever. So let's say I think that's 6,500 and then 6,500. So here you can select it on a page, you can select the SKU, you can select a description. So whatever you need to do, and you can add some notes, and you can see here these aren't seen by the clients, and then just save. So if I go back to my file and I refresh this page, it should appear. So you can see here, but I had a bit of trouble with this site here where I tried to save this image, and you can see from my design, I tried to do it 3 times and it just picked this one image here, so it wasn't particularly helpful. Of course you could take a screenshot and upload it, but it's just a little bit more work. But otherwise I used it on 3 different sites. For this site it didn't work. For these 2 sites it did work quite well. So just be aware of that it might not be as perfect as you want. So that would require me to then go back to the site and then take a screenshot or whatever. But the good thing is it's actually quite easy to go back to the site and get it. So it does actually save the link. So that's quite helpful. The other thing you can see is you can visit the website, you can edit the details, you can copy it to a project, you can archive it, and you can download the tear sheet. These are all pretty useful things and interesting if you've got an interior design project and you're the same product, a number of times. It can be extremely useful. The next thing that I wanted to talk about is the task. Now, the task manager, I'm used to using Notion or Asana, where the task management is, fairly sophisticated. This is pretty basic task management. So you can basically add in the project, you can add in the task, and you can edit your priority and you can do a due date. But if you're trying to, really sort of track what you're trying to do, you have to leave these notes or comments, and it can be a little bit clunky. There are 2 views. I didn't love the task, and I also didn't love how you couldn't assign a project time, because I actually thought you could open this up and then if you're working on it, then be able to add the time that you're working on a particular task. The other issue that you have is you have to sort of manually go in and add all these tasks. Now you can save them as a template, but essentially, if you've got a huge interior design task list, there's going to be a fair amount of work typing that all in. You can't upload a CSV file to this task list and then go through. The contact list, again, it's fairly simple, but you can, in this case, you can import a CSV. So if you've got your client list in a spreadsheet, you can import this, and you can also invite your client. So if you want to add in a client, you can type in their email address and their name and so on. The financials here, again, you can see your data and so on, and then you can set any packages that you would like. So these are ways that you can actually sell your services. So maybe instead of having a website, you can either link to this page, and then you can actually charge your client for a package there. So this could be pretty useful if you've got a very simple website and no way to take payments, and you've got a little bit of customization here, not a whole lot, but it's certainly there. You can create invoices. This is pretty simple. So it means that if you want to add a product, you can do that. If you want to add a flat rate service, you can also do that, and you can also add manual line item. This is a very simple way of issuing an invoice. And the last point out was the support. There seems to be a fair amount of support here, which is great. There's a lot of videos and webinars, and to be honest, if you're used to any kind of app, then you're probably going to find it actually pretty intuitive and easy to use. If you are seriously considering using DesignFiles, I suggest you do request a demo. At the moment, they're offering 2 main prices, and you can see there's a bit of a discount for the moment. You get 2 months at 50% off, and then it's $69 a month. Then you have this e-design service, which is for virtual. So let's just have a look at the differences in the plans. So you can see it's mainly, you can't give quote, you can't issue invoices, you can basically sell packages. So if you want to do more than packaging, then the full service one is probably the right one to you. If you add any additional people, you can see that it is $25 per month per additional user. So it could get quite pricey. Essentially, who is it for? Let's talk about the pros and the cons. I think the main strength of the DesignFiles is it's extremely simple to use. It's all in one. You'll be up and running in no time at all, and it's a good price if you use all the design features. So if you're going to use the floor plans, if you're going to use the rendering, then it is a very good price. But if you have already, you're using Notion, if you're using Canva, you probably would find it easier to create your mood boards in somewhere like Canva rather than in the DesignFiles, though you don't need to do that. You can communicate with clients really easily, which could be quite good. For those kinds of users, if you've got a very simple decorating business, then the DesignFiles could be a good fit for you. However, if you're doing anything more complex, I struggled, for example, to find the right kinds of doors for quite a simple project that I'm doing. And I at the end, it would be much easier for me to just open up SketchUp, do it there. But of course, to learn SketchUp, there's a bit of a learning curve. For the cons, I think that you're paying a lot for things like the rendering. So if you're not going to use them, you're going to maybe wasting your money. If you're using other apps like Canva, if you're paying for SketchUp, you would not be using the floor planning software. If your business grows and you're doing more and more complex projects, you might find that you would outgrow this platform pretty easily. And one of the problems is I don't think you can download CSV files of your information. So for example, if you're adding to your client list and then you want to move the whole list away from DesignFiles to another platform, you would have to basically do this all manually. So this could be an issue. So the final verdict, who is the DesignFiles for? In my opinion, I would recommend the DesignFiles to an e-designer or interior decorator who mainly does styling and furnishing projects. If you do any projects that are more complex, you will quickly discover its limitations. Ultimately, the best way to find out if the DesignFiles is right for you is to give it a try. I encourage you to take advantage of the free trial, explore the app, test out its features, and see how it fits into your design process. If you've used the DesignFiles or have any questions about it, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you found this review helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more interior design tips, tools, and reviews. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.